Buckeyes. Terrapins. Another good crowd on hand at Xfinity Center, and Maryland wearing the all pinks. Ohio State in their gray trimmed with pink. Maryland lost a lot of its scoring, 75% of it, in fact, with transfers and graduations. You see a lot of new faces on this team. But the Terrapins, 18-5 overall. And Charlie Cream right now says they are a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. He has Ohio State as a 2. Diamond Miller right off the bat.
Well, that's what Diamond Miller is best at. She is a slasher, gets to the rim. One-on-one containment against her is going to be key for the Buckeyes.
And one of the concerns for Kevin McGuff, the head coach, trying to shut her down. But there you see the Ohio State starters. Taylor Mikesell, the former Terp, has absolutely obliterated her former team in a couple of games, played against them last year. They split the 2 games last year, each winning on their home court. That's Mikesell. Floater, no good. Rebound, Massonis. Quickly gets it up to Miller. Shot off the mark. Rebound taken down by Taylor Thierry. Good defense for Maryland by Abby Myers. Grad transfer from Princeton.
And Brenda Frese has really challenged her ball club on the defensive end of the floor. Not happy with the defensive effort against Iowa on the road. She said, we have to get back to being a strong defensive team.
They lost to Iowa 96-82. Caitlin Clark put up almost half 100 on them. Shot clock into single digits. Mikesell has that scorer's mentality, makes the extra pass, and Maryland comes away with it.
Man, that was a great switch defensively by Maryland on Mikesell as Diamond Miller goes coast to coast. Didn't wait for Mikesell to come off of it, really jumping to meet her.
Thierry got bumped, but took steps before the contact.
Dead balls and made shots. This is when Ohio State is allowed to set their press, really come with this full court pressure. One of the concerns for Brenda Frese, handling this pressure for the 40-minute ball game.
And right there is an example of it. Here's J.C. Sheldon, number 4. Back after a 7-week stint rehabbing a leg injury. Mikesell with a rare miss from 3. Ohio State has missed all 4 of its shots. Cheyenne Sellers with the ball. Big improvement in her productions from last year. Maryland sticking on the glass, counting.
This is a great second effort by Maryland on the offensive boards. First shot not there, no box out. Abby Myers gets in the mix, able to put it up off the glass with the strong finish.
Myers played 3 years at Princeton. She grew up in Potomac, Maryland, not far from College Park.
It'll be really interesting to see. Great news, of course, that J.C. Sheldon back on the floor, but I'll be interested to see how Cody McMahon and Taylor Thierry play with her on the floor. They stepped up their offensive production, got a lot more shots, a lot more confident and comfortable offensively. The Buckeyes need them to continue that mindset.
Yeah, that's the good news. You get Sheldon back. Maryland just threw it away for the 2nd time in this game, but trying to incorporate her back into the offense. And there she is with the ball in her hands. Directing traffic.
And Maryland in this box and one, you see Shy Sellers face guarding Taylor Mikesell. And I like how they're switching whoever the man is guarding Mikesell on the on-ball screens.
Wow.
And Cody McMahon, just so good and so strong.
She is a true freshman. Actually graduated from high school early. Enrolled at Ohio State last spring, and she oftentimes doesn't look like a freshman out there.
No, she doesn't at all. You know, she's her body type, how strong she is. She came in, you mentioned the early enrollee, has been with this team now for almost a year, and her growth, even from the fall, game 1 against Tennessee to now, has been tremendous to watch.
coming off a 19-point effort in Ohio State's last game. They broke a 3-game skid when they beat Wisconsin. Pinzon chases it down. Her floater finds the bottom of the net. Elisa Pinzon from Italy, transferring over from South Florida.
And keep an eye on the top of your screen. Cheyenne Sellers face guarding Taylor Mikesell. What will Ohio State do to give her touches? Will she stay outside the three-point line and everybody else plays basically 4-on-4 in that box? It'll be interesting to see.
And that is going back to Ohio State, and I mean really face guarding her. Like Cheyenne Sellers was just standing there looking at her, not even concerned where the ball is or what else is going on behind her.
And Cheyenne Sellers, one of the best defensive players in the Big Ten.
Absolutely, the sophomore from Aurora, Ohio. Excited about this matchup since she knows a lot of the players for Ohio State as an Ohio kid. Sheldon has yet to take a shot. Ohio State as a team has missed 7 of 8. Only McMahon has been able to score, and here's another turnover. That was a good look for Myers, but it was wide to the right. Here's Sheldon attacking the basket. Ohio State not getting many second chance opportunities. Pinzon just flat out lost it and then committed a foul. Rather frantic pace, which you expected in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. Ohio State wants to push pace. Maryland awfully good when they can get on the roll in transition as well.
There's some subs coming in now for Maryland. J.C. Sheldon bringing the ball up. I want to welcome those of you who just saw LSU hold off Texas A&M. Opening minutes here at College Park. Pam Ward along with Stephanie White. Maryland off to a good start, leading Ohio State 7-2. Both of these teams in a tie for third in the very difficult Big Ten. Ohio State in the gray have missed 8 of 9 shots. J.C. Sheldon, welcome back. J.C. Sheldon out for the last 7 weeks with a lower leg injury, knocks down her 3.
Well, that was the first good look that J.C. Sheldon has gotten, and Ohio State's so good when they can penetrate those gaps and open up for three-point shooters.
Renee Alexander missing for Maryland. Play for K game, that's why you're seeing the pink for the Terps. And the pink trim in the uniforms for the Buckeyes. That goes in. Taylor Theory, the sophomore from Cleveland. Mostly a defensive replacement last year, thrust into the starting lineup, averaging over 10 points per game more this year than last. And a foul on the Buckeyes out on the perimeter. We'll take a break. J.C. Sheldon is back.
Well, you mentioned it. Welcome back, J.C. Sheldon. A great sign for the Buckeyes. Getting her going early. Taylor Theory finding Sheldon for the 3.
Welcome back. Ohio State playing here at Maryland got off to their best start ever, 19-0. And then they lost 3 straight ball games. All the way got up to number 2 in the country. That ties their highest in school history. But then a little bit of a hiccup as they did drop 3 straight games to Iowa, Indiana, and Purdue. Right now tied for 3rd in the Big Ten, along with the team they are playing today. Had a nice bounce-back win against Wisconsin, and they get J.C. Sheldon back. Hasn't played since November 30th.
Yeah, and getting J.C. Sheldon back is huge, and not just because she averages 16 points a ball game and she facilitates, but she's the head of the snake defensively. And the difference in Ohio State's games that they have lost, they're only getting a little over 12 points a game off of turnovers. In their wins, over 27 points a game off of turnovers. And J.C. Sheldon's the head of the snake in that press.
That one was almost down. In fact, of their 7 points this afternoon, 5 of them have come off of Maryland turnovers.
And that's what Ohio State does. If you can get past that first level, as Abby Myers knocks down a 3, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable when you can get past that, but they have been so good in that full court pressure all season long that it makes it really, really tough.
Drive into the basket, and that's an offensive foul. Evan Bristow.
Offensive foul charge to the Buckeyes.
Well, Abby Myers just brings a different element to this team. Her ability to stretch the floor. She's quick off the bounce. Her teammates know to find her. If she has a little bit of daylight, she's knocking it in.
Linda Freeze lauded her for her leadership and her toughness. Again, she played at Princeton for 3 years before coming to College Park.
And again, this is a Maryland team with 9 new players, 5 transfers, lost 75% of their scoring from a year ago. And I think this is one of Brenda Freeze's best coaching jobs, being able to mesh this team so early and strategically utilize each of these players.
Diamond Miller just committed a foul. If you remember Angel Reese, who last time I looked had 22 points and 22 rebounds and barely beating Texas A&M, which is surprising. Ashley Owusu broke her pinky, has not had the year she had hoped down at Tech. Bibi Benson out, and then or graduated, and Mimi Collins now playing for NC State. But that's staggering, right? 3/4 of your scoring.
It's staggering, and the types of players that were lost from a season ago. And early in the year, there were questions about Maryland. What would this team look like? How would they find ways to put the ball in the hole? And anytime you're integrating so many new players and new pieces, it's a challenge. And Brenda Freeze talked about it's been a challenging yet rewarding season for her in this ball club.
They were picked 4th in the Big Ten. Cheyenne Sellers with the ball in her hand. She has only taken 1 shot in this game. That's the hot hand. Abby Myers knocks down another 3, and Kevin McGuff calls timeout. It's an 8-0 Maryland run. Welcome back to Maryland, where Abby Myers has been hot. Her second 3, Abby 3 of 4 from the floor. The rest of her team just 3 of 8, and talked about it as she came from Princeton. She was an honorable mention All-American last year and the Ivy League Player of the Year. Coming up season high, 24 points, and grew up around here. Used to come to Maryland and watch her play when she was a little kid.
What a great story to be able to come home and finish your career at Maryland. Ohio State, Kevin McGuff wanted to talk about, we know Abby Myers is a 3-point shooter. We've got to pay attention to detail in the scout.
Mikesell couldn't keep it in bounds, sorry.
And Maryland face guarding Taylor Mikesell, playing in a box and 1, not allowing her easy touches, switching when she comes off of on-ball screens. At some point, Kevin McGuff's going to have to find out, how am I going to get Mikesell involved offensively?
Mikesell is 0 for 2 so far in this game.
Ohio State foul charge number 1, Ricky Harris.
Ricky Harris called for the foul at midcourt.
The Buckeyes are over the limit.
You know, this is just incidental contact, trying to break the press. Ricky Harris taking exception to getting hit in the face.
Renee Alexander at the line. Tomorrow, a top 25 women's basketball matchup on ESPN2 in the app. Liz Kitley and Virginia Tech going into Raleigh to take on Diamond Johnson and the Pack. Check it out from Reynolds Coliseum, 6 Eastern time. Tomorrow night, big Play for K events there. The great Kay Yow, the longtime head coach at NC State. Maryland, Sellers, Sellers to Myers.
Maryland giving Ohio State a dose of their own medicine, coming with this full court pressure. Cheyenne Sellers so long at the top of this press. And we saw Cheyenne Sellers and spoke to her earlier today, and both of us think she looks like she's about an inch taller, right? And you add the length and the wingspan, her ability to disrupt.
Mikesell misses from the outside. She is still scoreless. It's a 12-0 Maryland run. Ricky Harris dribbled right into traffic. Now there is Sellers. Wanted to get the foul on that, did not.
Out of bounds, possession to the Buckeyes. Correction, that's a foul. Charge to
I mean, Cheyenne Sellers is just one of the best defensive players in the Big Ten, and she just uses her length, gets a hand on the ball, and then pursues it. And Abby Myers continues her offensive assault.
Cheyenne Sellers said that at times last year as a freshman she was a bit timid. Says she's been attacking more. It's a different offense for Maryland. They're not very long at all. Lots of times they'll just a 5-guard offense.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, a lot of players, that jump from freshman year to sophomore year is big, and Cheyenne Sellers is no exception. She's gone from primarily being a defender and a rebounder to now shouldering an offensive load, and Brenda Free said she's been our MVP this season.
That is saying something with Diamond Miller on the squad. Rebound batted up in the air. Ohio State comes away with it. Harris doesn't have numbers, so holds it up. Theory couldn't finish. Now the Terps slow it down for once. Pinzon looking over at Coach Freeze. Pinzon from Italy. Honored before the game for scoring her 1,000th career point.
And this is the experience of Elisa Pinzon. Time and score, understanding you've got one possession.
Shot clock winding down now. They need a shot. Pinzon's got to take it. It was tipped. They play on, but then tipped right back. Ohio State, they're 7 points, a season low for any first quarter. Maryland up 19-7 after one.
The K-Yao Cancer Fund, they not only fund services for underserved women, but it's also promoted early detection with the mobile mammography unit, and I think that's very important.
So we all are playing for K here as you see Maryland in their pink uniforms. In pregame, some cancer survivors came out along with the lineups for the University of Maryland. They just honored some at midcourt. Big initiative. ESPN in honor of Kay Yao, who passed away after a 22-year fight with cancer. Gone since 2009. And there you see some of the facts and anything you can do to contribute to the Kay Yao Fund. All of it goes to research, and such an important thing, and it's research for all of women's cancers.
And 1 in 3 women be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. We certainly all have been affected by it in some way, shape, or form.
Support the Kay Yao Cancer Fund in partnership with the WBCA and the V Foundation. You can donate at kayyao.com. Faith Massonis with the bucket for Maryland. Pam Ward and Stephanie White joining you. J.C. Sheldon showing you some of her stuff. Again, playing her first game in 7 weeks, coming back from a leg injury. Cheyenne Sellers.
And what a difference when Cheyenne Sellers at the point, able to push pace in transition, but you have to stop the ball if you're Ohio State. Right now, Ohio State struggling on the offensive end. They've got to do a better job of locking down to scout defense on the other end. Give yourself an opportunity to get a stop.
Here's a good way to score for them. Theory with a chance at a three-point play. In that first quarter, Ohio State, 3 of 15 from the floor, only 20%. And Tyler Mikesell had no points and missed all 3 of her shots. And Mike Sell, in 2 games against Maryland last year, scored a career-high 33, and then the other game, 29.
And shot lights out in those 2 matchups against Maryland. And Brenda Frese said, we're going to face guard her, we're going to box in 1, we're going to try to keep her from getting the basketball, and it has affected Ohio State up until this point.
And after the make, some pressure, Maryland finally able to break the press. Myers with the miss, and then it gets tipped in by Lavender Briggs, the Florida transfer. Like she was just trying to keep it alive, and the ball went in the basket. There's Mike Sell. Guarded by Briggs, and finally on the score sheet, Mike Sell from Massillon, Ohio. Ohio State, her 3rd school, 2 years at Maryland, 1 at Oregon. And finishing up at Ohio State.
And I like that last offensive possession. You got to find Mike Sell again. The last offensive possession, setting some off-ball screens for Mike Sell. Now we were talking about in the first quarter, what adjustments will Kevin McGuff make to get Taylor Mike Sell some shots, some shot opportunities? And it was initially on-ball screens, which Maryland was just switching. Now off-ball screens, getting her a little bit of space.
4 points in the opening minutes of this second quarter. Sellers is fouled as she tried to get a shot off.
And I think finding her in transition is another way. You've got to make sure to get her some touches. But we're going to see right here, she attacks the rim, doesn't get, or gets the roll. But the initial action that got her the touch was an off-ball screen, and so they weren't able, they didn't switch it. Lavender Briggs had a little bit too much space. And we all know Taylor Mike Sell is one of the best offensive players in the country. If she can get the ball in her hands, she will find a way to make a play.
Theory just picked up her 2nd foul for Ohio State. McMahon also with 2. There's Taylor. Decided to come back to use her last year of eligibility after Ohio State lost a close one to Texas in the Sweet 16. Before they did their media availability, they looked at each other and it's like, we can do something special next year.
That's right. She and J.C. Sheldon talking to each other right after that game. Say we can potentially be a national championship contending team and make it to a Final Four.
And look at those numbers against both Maryland and a 1 game this year against Oregon.
And you see on the on-ball screen, the switch, there was a little bit of miscommunication.
Nothing but pink jerseys underneath. And Sellers brings it up, spinning on Mike Sell, who got a hand on it. And then the foul called on the Buckeyes. And if that's McMahon, that's 3. It is, and it is. And this is a freshman who's been so valuable for them. And she sits down, averaging 13.5 points per game. Coach Kevin McGuff talked about how hard she practices, which sometimes for a freshman is unusual. Just right from day 1 came in and was working hard. Nice roll to the basket. Myers found her. Briggs.
Lavender Briggs is a player who can fill it up. She was a dynamic scorer at Florida. Was saddled with some injuries before she transferred here to Maryland, and started to find her way at times in this system. Has been a little bit up and down. But a player who is certainly capable, and just slipping out of this on-ball screen. That's a terrific read. No backside help by the Buckeyes. Somebody has to have 2 feet in the paint and be that backside help.
Mike Sell. Looks like a Caitlin Clark from the logo attempt. Ohio State has missed 9 of their 10 threes. Another triple-double for Caitlin today, by the way.
How about that? Coming off a 42-point performance against Maryland, and once she go out, she goes out and gets a triple-double.
Spot-up shot, a little bit short for Brene Alexander, the Vanderbilt transfer. Miller hanging on, Sheldon dives in.
Alternating possession on the tie-up goes to the Buckeyes.
Alternating possession gives it to Ohio State. The Big Ten, I think we both agree on this, is the best conference. Pac-12 is in there as well, but boy, the depth and the talent. And both teams right now tied for 3rd, and with the loss, Charlie Cream says that they'll go Ohio State from a 2 to a 3. And you see Maryland, the only home loss, that's in the Big Ten since 2014. Who did they lose to again?
I think it was the Boilermakers.
Yeah, a little Boiler action.
In 2018.
Yep.
Taylor Theory has been another bright spot for this Buckeye team. Another player who was, as a young player, was primarily defender and rebounder, and has really found her offensive rhythm and offensive game this season. And confidence, you can just see she's oozing with confidence.
Myers able to block Mike Sell after a steal on the other end. Now Sheldon and Miller getting to know each other with another held ball.
Taylor Theory a year ago averaged a little over 2 points a ball game. Now averaging 13.5, and this is an area of her game that she has continued to work on. Steps up and knocks down the three with confidence.
Miller, yes! Off the inbounds.
Execution out of bounds. Great screen. You have to be aware of the shooter coming off, and Ricky Harris just late is in the restricted area. And Diamond Miller with the strong finish. She might have been flexing on him a little bit right there.
Harris has picked up her second foul. Diamond coming off 27 points in that loss to Iowa.
Returning for the Buckeyes, Evan Bristow.
Diamond Miller has been at her best against top 25 competition. She elevates. This is a team that she has become the leader, not just leading by example, which is what she typically does, but leading vocally. And you see against top 25 teams, averaging almost 25 points a game, 30-point games, and a game winner at Notre Dame.
On the road, and
Field goal. Taylor
Theory knocks down another one from distance. She's got 11. Good pressure and another turnover. Theory, Mike Sell.
This is when Ohio State's at their best. You make a shot, you can set that pressure, they get after you.
Lead is trimmed down to 8. For Miller, so quick.
And that's the recipe. You break through the first line of defense. There are breakdowns in the quarter court, and we've seen that from Ohio State at points through this season, and Maryland able to take advantage.
Myers took the ball away and then was fouled. Maryland up 10. Diamond Miller, as usual, playing well against a ranked team.
Absolutely, she's heating up, and you can see the intensity, you can see the passion. Great job beating the pressure and finishing at the rim.
Checking in for the Buckeyes, Emma Shoemate. Back in for the Germans, Cheyenne Sellers.
Thank you very much. And these are Player of the Year candidates, and all of them had good days. Another double-double, a huge one for Angel Reese. Diamond Miller knocks it down. Another triple-double for Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston, really good. And UConn was right with them in that ball game until the fourth quarter, and still, you know, Azzi Fudd didn't play, and of course, Paige Beckers is out.
And in foul trouble, but South Carolina is just too deep and too many weapons. But certainly those three are the front runners for Player of the Year this year.
Here's Mike Sell working against Myers. Struggling for her, certainly against Maryland. And of those three, if you were to vote?
To me, Caitlin Clark's the Player of the Year this year. You know, I think her numbers have been consistent. You know, she has continued to be a dominant scorer and facilitator, and she's taken it to another level from a rebounding standpoint this year as well.
Ball coming back over to Ohio State.
Her first personal foul. Team second.
And you look at their numbers entering today. You know, Caitlin Clark averaging 20, almost 28, 8 and 8. Angel Reese has been dominant, both scoring the basketball and on the boards. And again, you know, we've talked about this. The Big Ten, potentially the best, deepest conference in the country. Pac-12 certainly is right there as well. ACC, SEC a little bit down this year, but still a tough conference.
Sellers, after the turnover, gets her 6th point. The Big Ten, what, with is it 9 teams in the top 50 of the net ranking, which is remarkable. That's good work to
Emma Shoemate.
get it over to Shoemate.
And Taylor Theory has been terrific offensively for this team. Scoring the basketball, you see her facilitating. No, I think the Buckeyes still have to find ways to set some more off-ball screens, get Taylor Mikesell some touches. She doesn't have to score it, but she's going to command multiple players' eyeballs. They're going to come at her. They're going to find her. And in the absence of J.C. Sheldon and Madison Green, Taylor Mikesell playing some point guard, so she understands how to facilitate out of that.
Good job by Sellers to keep it alive and finish. And we haven't even mentioned Madison Green, who went out with the knee injury for Ohio State and will miss the rest of the season. Here's Miller, a little bit of a head of steam, and she traveled.
No basket traveling. Possession to the Buckeyes.
Cheyenne Sellers a season ago averaged almost just under 8 points a ball game. This year, offensive explosion. And look at how fast she is in the open floor. She's efficient with her movement. She understands how to push the ball out in transition. She's a confident offensive player coming off a career-high 26 at Iowa.
Myers with the foul from behind.
Maryland foul charge to number 10.
Cheyenne Sellers, we asked her about her mindset coming into this game. She talked about being aggressive, much more comfortable around the rim. Very special player. Remember, she's only a sophomore, was the 6th player of the year in the Big Ten last year, and also made the all-freshman squad. Here's Theory.
And Pam, Cheyenne Sellers is really just scratching the surface. I mean, she is a talented player. She's incredibly athletic. Continuing to get in the gym and really fine-tune her craft. But she's just scratching the surface of what her growth can be.
Another held ball.
Possession on the tie-up goes to the Buckeyes.
Our ACC Big 12 Big Monday men's doubleheader coming your way as Duke takes on Miami down at Coral Gables. Follow that at 9 Eastern time with Jalen Wilson and number 8 Kansas hosting Marcus Carr and Texas. Both games over on ESPN and the app coming your way tomorrow night. J.C. Sheldon. She's got 5 points, 4 rebounds in this game. First game back since the last day of November. Kicked by Miller. Turns around and high-fives Cheyenne Sellers for their combination defense.
I mean, can you imagine those two when they're defending you and you see Cheyenne Sellers switching between Taylor Mikesell and J.C. Sheldon, but their length, their quickness, their athleticism, the versatility of this small lineup that Brenda Frese plays to be able to switch lots of things defensively, keeps teams off balance.
Mikesell with the long 3.
Hand down, man down. McDaniel, when you're closing out to Taylor Mikesell, it doesn't matter where she is in the gym, your hands have to be up and you have to close the gap.
And you need to get a person on her too on the other end. Diamond Miller, we have a minute left to go. Maryland has led by as many as 14. Sheldon, good defense by Miller, and then got the rebound. But stepped on the baseline.
Baseline, possession to Ohio State.
And in this scouting report defense, the box and one or the face guard, there are certain players who have been called to the assignment for Taylor Mikesell. McDaniel must not have been one of them in practice because she was about 4 feet off of her with her hands on the floor. You've got to tighten that space. You've got to have a hand up.
Most players would not have pulled it from there, but Mikesell is not most players. She couldn't hold on.
Maryland basketball.
11th turnover for Ohio State. They had 8 in the first quarter, doing a better job hanging on here in the second. And now Sellers.
And what a luxury to have. Sellers can play position 1 through 5. It doesn't matter where.
Myers, little step back 3. A little bit too strong. And now the shot clock is off. The Buckeyes can close out the half.
And you see that's a closeout.
Yep, Myers all up on Mikesell and forces the turnover. And Miller almost. But Maryland takes a 12-point lead into the locker room. Sellers with 8, Myers with 13 to lead the Terps. Time now to take it to the studio. Kelsey, Rebecca, Andrea. He had 3 fouls in only 8 minutes of action. Cody McMahon, the 6-foot freshman. And there you see the other story. Abby Myers has been terrific. The Maryland native and Princeton transfer. Maryland outscoring Ohio State in the paint and also turning them over a lot. Diamond Miller picking up right where she left off.
Diamond Miller is really good when she gets going downhill. She's so long, she can get by you quickly. Her angles are good to the rim. She's one of the best in the country at finishing at the rim and getting herself to the foul line.
She was yelling as soon as it went off her hand that that was off the mark. It was. Myers gave him a second chance. Miller called for the second time in this game for steps before she made a move, and for the second time she's been perplexed by the call. 11th turnover for the Terrapins. Both these teams coming in 9-3 in the very good Big Ten.
And I like this matchup with Sellers on Mikesell. She really does a great job of selling the face guard, getting her entire body in the passing lane.
Yeah, her eyes are on Tyler Mikesell. She's not even concerned about where the ball is. J.C. Sheldon making her first appearance since November 30th, missing 7 weeks with a lower leg injury. Missed that shot. Diamond Miller continues to attack the basket. And then the foul on the drive by Taylor Theory, who was playing with a couple of personal fouls. Shy Sellers playing good defense and just picked up only her first foul. That's impressive.
It is impressive. No, she's a really disciplined defender. Does a good job of using her length and her quickness and athleticism to stay in front. But that's on Taylor Theory, who has been impressive in this ball game, just strong to the rim.
Sophomore from Cleveland. We've already said that she's upped her scoring by 10 points per game from last year and now is in the top 10 in the Big Ten in rebounding. Ohio State breaking a 3-game slide by beating Wisconsin in their last contest. Theory now with 14 points. You could see that coming. Mikesell read it, but couldn't corral it. Lindsey Spann makes a nice play over there on the Terrapin bench. Karen Blair and Caitlin Fratz, also the assistants.
She made a few of those plays when she was on the floor, too.
Yeah, Penn State player, and she's from Laurel, Maryland, not far from campus. PG County, best. That's all I got to say.
Is that where Pam Ward is from?
Damn right. There's Miller driving, and we've got a couple of, like Crystal Langhorne is here. We saw Marissa Coleman, part of the championship team for the Terps in 2006.
They're regulars on the sideline here in Maryland. Bought these floor side seats.
Theory just picked up her third, Steph. So McMahon, Harris, and Theory all with 3 personal fouls for Ohio State. These two teams will close out the regular season against each other in Columbus. Miller hit the deck, no call. Brenda Frese is losing her mind over there on the sideline because there was no foul call.
Well, there was some chirping going on between Diamond Miller and Taylor Theory, and Brenda Frese brought Diamond Miller over to the side and was like, hey, stop, like we're not going to do this. So now she's going to bat for Diamond Miller, coming off of the on-ball screen, and Taylor Theory trying to skinny over the top and got her, but the no call by the official, and Brenda Frese not happy about it.
That would have been Theory's 4th personal foul.
I like the matchup. I like the competitiveness, and I like the chippiness.
McMahon with the miss. Miller, a very fiery player. So she just likes to have fun, real goofy off the court, all business on it. And count it, Cheyenne Sellers.
Down the basket, Cheyenne.
Get some high fives from the people.
Are you kidding me, Pam, with this shot right here? Cheyenne Sellers, again, another player. She sees the mismatch. She knows she has the advantage. Hey, listen, if you just throw it up there off the glass, you're going to give yourself a chance. And she sure did.
Her first, team's third.
Rebecca Mikulashikova with the foul. Bex, her teammates call her that, and I think that's a good precedence.
You know, Mikulashikova is a player who averages over 13 points a ball game. You know, hasn't scored today.
Right.
Got to find a way to get more players involved if you're the Buckeyes. But Maryland's defense, and Brenda Frese has challenged this ball club, their defense has been really good. Attention to detail in the scout, high activity level, and finishing each play. That's too easy.
But then Miller blew the layup after getting a nice pass to the basket. And Maryland's defensive numbers have not been impressive during the season, but they've looked good today. Theory able to get inside. She's coming off a career-high 25 at Wisconsin, and she's got 16 right now. Miller draws another foul. Miller does a great job getting to the line. 6th in the nation in made free throws. Gets there over 7 times a game. Mikulashikova picks up her second foul.
That's a sign of a great scorer, finding ways to get to the foul line. And Diamond Miller's very unorthodox in her movement, and she's efficient in how she gets to the rim. She's a tough cover.
Miller has 1 more year of eligibility left. Said she is strongly leaning towards not using that final year. Brenda Frese has already resigned to the fact that she's not going to have her next year. She can be a pretty good pro, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There she goes. Gives it over to Myers. Did not get the roll.
You think about Diamond Miller's length, athleticism, her ability to continue to get better from the three-point line, to continue to get better from a rebounding standpoint.
A lot of passes for the Buckeyes, and it results in a 3 for Theory.
From Ebony Walker.
Taylor Theory, a year ago, was 1 for 5 on the season from the three-point line. Now she's 3rd in the Big Ten in three-point field goal percentage. She shoots it with confidence. She really worked on her offensive game in the offseason.
Trims the lead down to 12. Miller, great catch and another finish.
She gave us the analogy that their team was like a firecracker. I think that Diamond Miller is like a firecracker. I mean, she is just explosive. Great job of utilizing her length, her ability to go get the rim, finish, get to the rim. And this is what I love right here, that intensity, that passion. Brenda Frese told us, you know, Diamond Miller has been a lead by example type of player. But over the last few weeks, her sense of urgency has been apparent. She has been much more vocal, high attention to detail, even in film sessions, communicating with her teammates.
And gave her a lot of credit before they played Penn State, a team that is towards the bottom of the standings, and it was Diamond in the film session who was staying on her teammates about the details and how important that game was, even though they had games against Iowa and Ohio State coming up. Here's Miller in the open court. Bobbled up. Now Sellers with the reset. And the fans here at Xfinity Center appreciating what they're seeing so far. Alexander, player you know a little bit about.
Yeah, Renee Alexander, one of my favorites. Player who's always going to do what it takes, her toughness, her competitiveness.
Renee, number 5 for Maryland, a kid from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. 4 years at Vanderbilt, SEC All-Freshman in 2019. Sellers.
Great screen by Alexander, and Sellers, just her confidence on the offensive end of the floor, oozing with it. You know, she's always somebody who brings that energy and setting the tone. But Maryland has been executing at a high level on both ends of the floor, and this out-of-bounds play, a perfect example. Great screen, way to use it, nothing but the bottom.
Pac-12.
That's right.
Tina Langley, who was an assistant here at Maryland for several years, now in charge of Washington. Huge win for the Huskies.
Yes, sure was. Tina did such a great job at Rice, and now at Washington, that was a big-time win.
Meanwhile, Ohio State, this is their largest deficit of the game.
Maryland changing the D right there, and that's what you have to be aware of. Anytime you change it up and you go straight zone, you're not face guarding anymore, you have to find Taylor Mikesell.
And then Mikesell helps draw an offensive foul.
The way Ohio State can shoot the ball and turn you over and how quickly they can score, they're never really out of a ball game, so you can't afford to have breakdowns. Terrific fade screen by Theory, really good execution out of the timeout by the Buckeyes.
Second foul on Sellers. Mikesell not shooting the ball well today, just 5 of 13, does have 12 points. After scoring 33 and 29 in 2 games against Maryland last year, one of her 2 former schools. Drive to the basket and put home by McMahon. Just her second bucket.
And Cody McMahon has saddled with that early foul trouble, hadn't been able to find a rhythm. Diamond Miller has. Those straight line drives are killing the Buckeyes.
Diamond has 9 points in this quarter alone.
Find her, give her the ball. Nobody's stopping her.
Nobody's guarding her.
But that's your utility player in Cheyenne Sellers. Understanding. Diamond Miller has the hot hand. I've got my head up. I'm finding her in transition. I mean, it's so valuable to have a player like Sellers who can play those multiple positions and has that IQ of a point guard.
23 for Miller. Sellers' turn. Finds her again. But first a foul. Yeah, they are very much in sync. Sellers and Miller, what a tandem. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tyler, one of Coach Freese's sons, and his fight against cancer. We are back at Maryland, a Play for K game, and that is Tyler Thomas, one of Brenda Freese's, one of the 2 twins, and back in 2010 he was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 2 years of age. And then in December of 2013, there you see him in the hospital up in Baltimore with Coach Freese. 3 years and 3 months of therapy. He underwent his final round of chemo and since then has been cancer-free. In 2016, Maryland partnered with Play for the Cure to help raise awareness for cancer research. So Coach Freese knows firsthand the importance of raising money for cancer.
And cancer research means to me it's huge. It saved my son's life. And the more that people can give, you have to understand that there's a bigger picture that you are going to help save someone's life.
And that is exactly what happened with Tyler. We invite you to support the KYOW Cancer Fund in partnership with the WBCA and the V Foundation for Cancer Research. Donate at kyow.com. Marcus and Tyler are going to be 15 next week.
That's incredible.
Coach Freese is already talking about them learning how to drive. But just a great story. And again, any money you can contribute is greatly appreciated, and 100% of it goes right towards finding a cure for women's cancers. But you know, cancer is something that touches everybody's lives, and Tyler's a gym rat. Coach Freese thinks he's going to be a coach. He says gets up at 7 a.m., comes in early, goes to practices. We saw him today.
We saw him today at shoot around. He loves it.
Right now, Tyler's mom's team is doing well, up 61-44. First of 2 meetings in the regular season for these two teams. Diamond Miller has been unstoppable in the third quarter.
16 now in the quarter for Diamond Miller, 25 for the ball game, and this is a great pass by Brene Alexander. Flash into the high post in this zone. Taylor Theory goes with her, leaves her coverage, and Miller says, I'm gonna flex on him. I know I can go through that contact and finish.
That is 4 fouls on Theory, who goes out of the game. And Diamond Miller has just been torching them here in the third quarter.
She's outscoring the Buckeyes herself.
Diamond, you referenced it earlier when we talked to Diamond. We asked how the team is doing. She says that we're kind of like a firecracker. So it's unexpected. Everybody knows that it's going to pop, but you don't know what's going to happen, what you're going to see. She says sometimes when we pop, it's a good thing to see, sometimes not so much, but so far the firecracker is spectacular.
Well, and she alluded to the expectations early with what this team lost from a year ago, that there weren't a lot of expectations. And you put these pieces together, and she said the chemistry is really good. This team has blended. This coaching staff has been very intentional from the onset of the semester in team building and togetherness, and you can really see the difference on the floor. And this is a team who just keeps getting better as the season progresses.
Coach Freeze said they had a little bonding, camping in cabins. They didn't rough it too much. I don't blame them. And meanwhile, foul trouble is just piling up for Ohio State. They have 3 players with 4 fouls, all of them starters: McMahon, Harris, and Theory. Saddled with 4 fouls, and Diamond Miller is back at the line.
And the Buckeyes, not a team that have a lot of depth. They really have about a 7-player rotation consistently. Don't have a lot of depth. So Kevin McGuff talked to us about this today. He said we've got to be able to stay out of foul trouble. He particularly mentioned Taylor Theory because she was going to have the Diamond Miller matchup. But as a whole, and Cody McMahon, who has been a terrific freshman, potential freshman of the year in the Big Ten, has really been out of rhythm from the beginning of the ball game because of that foul trouble.
Sellers almost has like a little smile on her face, looking Mike Sell in the eye as she guards her.
Well, she relishes those moments. Remember, we had her at the end of the year last year at Iowa, where she had to check Caitlin Clark, and it was the same way, just a smile and just embracing the matchup.
And they did shut down Caitlin Clark in that game, not so the last time they played him. Caitlin had 42, and fans cheering for another good defensive stop. There's 15 turnovers now for Ohio State. They average only 13.5 per game. And Maryland shooting 55%.
Well, Maryland having no issues with this Ohio State Buckeye press. They've done a really good job of attacking and scoring when they can, and then time and score situations, bringing it back out and executing in the half court.
Myers had a terrific first half, first bucket of the second half. Yeah, it's not good when you look and see that Ohio State has only scored 13 points off turnovers.
Yeah, this is a team that when they're at their best, and in their 20 wins this season, they've averaged over 27 points a game off of turnovers, and in their 3 losses, only 12. It's the difference in winning and losing for this ball club.
And right now, they're on the lower end of that spectrum and losing by a lot. And there's the graphic proof of what you just spoke about. And right now they're at 13 points off turnovers. Shot clock winding down. Myers spins and spun her feet. Ohio State has Caitlin Costner, number 20, in. That, speaking about her depth, she usually doesn't get a lot of playing time.
Well, the Buckeyes not really getting anything offensively from Rebecca Mikulashikova, who averages over 13 points a ball game. You know, Ricky Harris, who is their sub off the bench and had been starting in the absence of J.C. Sheldon, has been saddled with foul trouble, has not been able to get on the scoreboard.
Terrific defense. Walker turned it over. Sellers left it short. And then she hits the deck. Fouled by Ebony Walker.
Ohio State number 22, Ebony Walker.
There's 2 on her. Walker now at her 3rd university. Let's take a look.
Well, after the play, Sellers and Walker get tangled up, and I think Sellers sold it a little bit, but that shot didn't go in, but so much space as Faith Masonius gets the second opportunity. And Faith Masonius, really the unsung hero of this ball club. The glue player, Brenda Fries says, does everything that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Certainly missed her a year ago.
Picked up a couple of fouls early in the first half, so didn't play a lot in the first half. It's a 15-2 Maryland run, and that last one, Lavender Briggs, good job of keeping it alive. That allowed Masonius to score. About a 1.5 seconds difference between the clocks. The Maryland Terrapins outscored Ohio State by 13 in that quarter. They are in control, 69-44.
Diamond Miller just dominated the third quarter, had 18 points. The Buckeyes only had 14, but she has been terrific. She's been scoring at all 3 levels, getting to the rim, getting to the foul line, shooting it from the 3. Her intensity, her competitiveness, her activity level. And let's not forget, yes, she's going to flex on them and let them know.
And actually, to update that, Diamond had 18 in that third quarter. And now is getting a well-deserved rest. Pam Ward and Stephanie White joining you. A very surprising score. I did not expect this. Ohio State is a team that, barring a miraculous comeback, will be falling for the 4th time in 5 games after starting out 19-0, but that's a good sign. Chance for a 3-point play for McMahon, who's out there with 4 fouls, but Kevin McGuff has no choice now, right? He's just got to get his best scorers out there.
He's got to get him out there. And you think about, okay, well, everybody's, what's wrong with Ohio State? They started 19-0. Well, they lost to Iowa at home. They lost at Indiana.
Really good,
right?
too.
It was really good. Probably the one they shouldn't have lost, that loss to Purdue, all without J.C. Sheldon and Madison Green. And now you're reintegrating J.C. Sheldon back into the offense and trying to figure out how do we play with this. The other thing is, whoa, what a play, Abby Myers on the back screen. The other thing is, you know, look at this Buckeye team, and their strength early had been their pressure. Well, now when you're playing a team for the 2nd time, you're figuring out how do we break that pressure? How do we make sure we take care of the ball, give ourselves advantages on the offensive end? So coaches are making adjustments, and teams are playing better offensively and not feeding into the strength of the Buckeyes.
McMahon called for the double dribble, so no basket. 19 turnovers, pardon me.
Bam, this play, terrific. We don't see the back screen in our screen, but Abby Myers, Faith Masonius, terrific pass and heads-up play by Myers to not come down with it.
Yeah, Masonius, remember she had an ACL tear. It's only been about 12 months since she's had her surgery and has been starting for the Terps, as you mentioned, considered to be the unsung hero by Coach Fries. And that was a great pass. Haven't seen a lot of Sheldon here in the second half. J.C. Sheldon, if you're just joining us, did start today. Had not played since November 30th, missing 7 weeks with a lower leg injury. J.C. 0 for 2 in the second half. Scoreless since the break.
On a player who had practiced 3 full practices, had been really reintegrating herself this week, and it might be one of these situations where hey, it might not be worth it to put her back in the game at this point. Let's continue to help her get healthy. But I've been really impressed with Maryland's execution offensively and defensively. Their attention to detail. They were challenged in practice this week to play better on the defensive end of the floor. They have responded, and Diamond Miller has been terrific.
She's backed up 27 points at Iowa with a 29-point effort tonight. Her career high 32 at Baylor, going with that theme of she comes out and is at her best against the better teams.
32-10 at Baylor, had the game winner at Notre Dame, and averaging over 25 points a game against top 25 opponents. She relishes these moments.
Here she is. 1-on-2, got knocked away. Nice play by Theory.
Out of bounds, possession remains with Maryland.
But the possession stays with the Terps.
Well, and Ohio State's transition defense not very good at picking up the basketball, but you look at Diamond's numbers right there, 30 points in those games at Baylor and at Notre Dame, the game winner, but not scored fewer than 17 against a top 25 opponent. It's just really impressive.
And those points per game are going to go up on average after this one.
No, and this is a player, too, that has struggled with injuries throughout her career. You know, has been in and out of the lineup, missed the South Carolina game this season, you know, with injury. She said she's healthy, she's feeling good, and you can tell.
Third team foul.
Foul sends Theory to the line after she was fouled by Masonis, her third. Theory playing with 4 fouls herself. Tomorrow, a top 25 women's basketball matchup on ESPN2 at the app. 6 Eastern time. Liz Kitley, George Amore, and the rest of Virginia Tech take on Diamond Johnson and NC State. Trying to bounce back. Remember, they lost to Georgia Tech. Coverage from Reynolds begins at 6 Eastern tomorrow. Georgia Tech has had a couple of nice wins for Nell Fortner after a rough start. Cheyenne Sellers. 17 for her. Here she comes again.
Great find. Great find. Again, just Sellers is coming down the floor with her eyes up, understands her teammates, when, where, who to get the pass to. Just terrific execution in transition all night long by the Terps. And yes, indeed, fear the turtle and fear Cheyenne Sellers. Renee Alexander knocking down the 3.
That's Kelsey, right? So more basketball on your way. Let's take a look, Steph White, at Maryland's remaining schedule. Still in the hunt, perhaps, to make some big noise in the regular season.
Absolutely. Look at that schedule. And, of course, it's not easy. Illinois, much better. Michigan State always seems to sneak in there. Iowa and Ohio State to finish it up. And you think about third place, right, in the Big Ten, and who are they chasing? They're chasing Indiana. And Indiana's schedule is tough down the stretch. I mean, they are a team, and you look at this, they have Iowa twice, they have Ohio State, they've got Purdue, who came in and who upset Ohio State as well, and they've got Michigan, and Kim Barnes-Arico's squad is tough. None of those games are gimmies, and in the Big Ten, and then they're chasing Iowa. And the Hawkeyes, we look at their schedule, you think about it too, they have opportunities, okay, at Indiana, at Maryland, Rutgers, Wisconsin, at Nebraska. Nebraska came in and beat Maryland here early in Big Ten play, and they're a team who have been in and out of the top 25. So it is a gauntlet, and there is still a chance for the Terps should Iowa or Indiana slip up with those tough remaining schedules.
Both Indiana and Iowa with just 1 loss in the Big Ten. Maryland about to go to 10-3 and take over sole possession of 3rd place in the Big Ten. You see Maryland feasting at the free throw line, 16 of 18.
And Pam, we're talking about the Big Ten championship. We're not even talking about seeding for the NCAA tournament because the Big Ten is, I mean, there are top seeds to be had.
Sellers again on defense. Mike Sell's life has been rather miserable.
And you see her with that big smile.
As an opponent, would that tick you off?
I don't think so. I think as a competitor, you want that type of edge, that type of competitiveness. I love that she relishes the defensive end of the floor as Abby Meyers continues to fill it up. She loves the competitiveness of locking down the opponent's best player. She embraces that. You know, you think about great two-way players, and Cheyenne Sellers has a chance to be one of the best.
Ohio State's missed 7 straight shots. They've gone 4 minutes without a field goal, being outscored 13-4. Here in the fourth quarter, they only scored 7 points in the first.
Well, this is a Maryland team that's continued to get better as the season progresses, and we've talked about it early in the ball game, but quite possibly one of Brenda Freese's best coaching jobs with this group.
Not a lot of expectations. They were picked 4th in the Big Ten. Offensive foul. McMahon has just fouled out. Very frustrating game for McMahon.
Second team foul.
Coming up later after the NFL Pro Bowl games on ESPN and the app, it's the NBA. Sixers, Knicks, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. That's the top of the hour.
A little bit of news coming out of the NBA today, right? Kyrie Irving going to Dallas.
Also back in for Ohio State, Ricky Harris.
Ohio State's 23 turnovers has tied a season high.
And a team that averages just a little over 13 a ball game. So Maryland defense has been terrific. And the challenge that Brenda Freese had given this team, they have stepped up to.
Big time. Maryland has scored 22 points off those turnovers. Great hustle by Lavender Briggs, and then she's hit. Now it's Taylor Theory's turn to sit down with 5 fouls.
Taylor Theory, that's her 5th.
And we've mentioned Brenda Freese, what an outstanding job she's done with this team. But think about these players who have transferred into this program, what they've done at their previous schools and what they're doing here. And you've got Lavender Briggs and Brene Alexander, who were high-volume scorers at their previous schools, have come in and have been role players and have helped this team progress as the season moves along. Abby Meyers, Player of the Year in the Ivy League, has come in and been a double-figure scorer. Eliza Pinzan, who starts the ball game and gets this team, off, and then doesn't play a lot of minutes after that, and everyone playing and understanding their role for the success of this team.
Everybody you talk to around the Maryland program talks about the chemistry being better this year. Mike Sell has it rim out, and that's the challenge now with the transfer portal. This is going to be the norm, right? You're going to have all these new faces every year, and the challenge is trying to blend them.
It is. It's a challenge, for coaches. It's a challenge for players to find the right fit, to accept new roles.
It's a team that lost Ashley Owusu to Virginia Tech to transfer. Angel Reese now at LSU. And we have seen Diamond Miller and Cheyenne Sellers in particular just flourish this season, along with all of the newcomers.
And officials are going to go to the monitor and check out, see if there was an unobserved intentional foul. And on the replay, Heaven Bristow and Brene Alexander going to get the ball, and you can see Alexander's elbow just gets Bristow as she's coming down. To me, that's a basketball play.
And the officials make quick work of that. Alicia Brenner, Tim Daly, Angie Enlund working today and communicating with us very quickly that nothing extra.
Good efficiency by the officials.
Yep. So we play on. Just over 4 minutes left to go, and I think people are going to be looking at this score, Palindromic 84-48, and be stunned by it. I'm here and I'm stunned.
Absolutely, 100%. And if you're the Buckeyes, again, this has been a tough stretch. It has not been an easy stretch by any means, but you've got to go back and you've got to find ways to fix what's ailing. Okay, well, you're not getting as much in your pressure defense, so your half-court defensive execution has to be better. And got to find ways to get back into that offensive rhythm and flow. And speaking of rhythm and flow, Abby Myers, who struggled from the floor at Iowa, 5 of 17, has not struggled here today.
Myers burying another 3. She's got 22. That is 2 off of her career high at 24 against Penn State earlier this year. That's her season high, pardon me. Had 29 in Princeton's big upset over Kentucky last year in the NCAA tournament. Oh, look at the play. Hustle play by Bree McDaniel to break up what looked to be an easy 2.
Returning for the tournament.
And I think this is a perfect example of a hustle play that fits the culture of this team. Bree McDaniel doesn't get a lot of minutes, right? But she comes in a, my math is not very good, so nearly 40-point ball game.
Close.
Right? 40-point ball game, and makes that kind of play in transition to save a possession and save an easy bucket.
Just terrific hustle. McDaniel, number 24 in pink, freshman from Chicago. So Brenda Frese has taken both Sellers and Diamond Miller out of the game with it well in hand. Maryland goes to Northwestern next. Ricky Harris with the bucket. Her first points of the game.
First points of the game for Ricky Harris. Rebecca Mikolashikova has been nowhere offensively for this Ohio State Buckeye team. J.C. Sheldon working her way back.
Theory with 21, Mike Sell with 12. No one else with more than 6.
And we're going to see this hustle play again by McDaniel, but she just comes in and look, she's not even looking. That's peripheral vision right there, and she gets a great hand on the ball.
Ohio State's season low in scoring this year, 65 points. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're not going to get there today.
They're not going to get there today. I mean, they're second in the Big Ten. They average 84 points a ball game. And you can't emphasize enough how disappointed Brenda Frese and this Maryland ball club was in their defensive effort at Iowa.
Yeah.
Now, Iowa's a terrific offensive team in their own, right? But how disappointed they were. The commitment to the defensive end of the floor this week has been evident, and it's showing out here tonight.
Harris with her second bucket.
Harris.
Mila Reynolds, another freshman, getting some playing time for the Terps. And that right there might be karma. McDaniel, after that nice hustle play on the breakaway, puts up the shot and buries it.
Absolutely. The ball will reward you. There is no doubt about that.
A minute to go in what is going to be an eye-opening victory for the Terrapins. Walker able to clean up. And Maryland shooting 53%. Ohio State has missed 10 of its last 12 shots before that last bucket.
How about the lift Bree McDaniel's giving this team in the last few minutes? A no-look swipe, saving a possession in transition, and then being rewarded on the other end. Offensive rebound, three-point bucket.
McDaniel only averaging about 2.5 points per game. Now Brenda Frese clearing her bench. Gia Cook, number 11, is in. And Ohio State about to fall for the fourth time in 5 games after getting off to their best start in history. They were 19-0 at one point, held to a season low in scoring, 11 points fewer than their previous low. And the Maryland Terrapins with an amazing effort, particularly Diamond Miller, 29 points, 10 rebounds. Maryland's biggest win ever against a top 10 opponent. They win by 36 points.
And this is a storied Maryland program. That stat is astounding to me right there. What they were able to do, execution on both ends of the floor, making a statement, not just in the Big Ten, but across the country tonight.
So Maryland wins it 90-54 for Stephanie White and our entire crew, both in Bristol and in Charlotte. I'm Pam Ward. As we send you back to the studio, Kelsey, Rebecca, and Andrea Carter.